What is the difference between pastiche and parody? Hi folks, this is Prof. Linus. Welcome back to the 10-Second Film School. Today we will explore pastiche versus parody, two often confused terms when it comes to describing the tradition of artistic mimicry. In fact, if you were to Google the words, many of the examples seem to be conflated with one another. Some things are labeled as parody when it should be pastiche, and some things are labeled as pastiche when it ought to be parody. Here are the quick definitions as I see it. Pastiche is the eclectic tribute, a sometimes humorous homage in art, or an imitation honoring a particular artist's work. Parody is a mockery, a caricature, or a pointed criticism of an artist's work or the artist's persona. Shows like SNL are famous for its parodies on celebrities and politicians. The more controversial and more newsworthy, the more likely it is that that person will be parodied. But pastiche is special. There's an artist I love on Instagram named Avery Evans, a Cypriot artist who works in the realm of pastiche very intelligently. This artist takes classic works of art and photoshops them with other icons and images to help us see the art in a new way. Many of the artworks do carry a tinge of humor, but on the whole you can tell all of this exists in the vein of homage and curiosity, and you are encouraged to find out about these artworks and engage with the artist about motivation. Pastiche is a special kind of commentary that's more of a tribute. When Tarantino released Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the viewer doesn't get a sense that the artist is deriding the past or putting it down. A lot of the critics were saying that this movie was his love letter to Hollywood. Pastiche and parody look very similar on the surface, but they come from two very different motivations. As it is with all art, the intention behind the artist's voice is what matters. It's the reason the artwork exists in the first place. And this is why after all of my lectures, I ask my classes, what did you think the director was trying to get across? Not what did you think of the film? Artistic criticism is our response to the artist's intent. If you are like the artist that I shared with you, if you're a musician, if you're a filmmaker, you might be employed to utilize pastiche in your art. And then the question becomes, how do you defend it? Let's look at a famous real-life example. Is Banksy parody or pastiche? It's hard to say, right? The opinion of the speaker is that Banksy tends to be parody, since Banksy often takes established or known icons and criticizes them through mockery. For example, this. I would say that Banksy is even satire. I'm introducing yet another term, of course, but satire and parody are very much in the same vein. Satire being criticism through mockery of a familiar situation or angle on human nature, parody being more aimed at a person or character. The way I see parody is the question of whether or not what's being shown is being denigrated or deflated in some way. As an instructor, I am particularly interested in genre pastiche, so here are some examples and movies that demonstrate this, totally not an authoritative or exhaustive list, just some films that I think you should check out. Murder by Death, Love and Death, Intolerable Cruelty, Shaun of the Dead, Rick and Morty, What We Do in the Shadows. Revisionist genres and revisionist media tend to rely on pastiche, like the spaghetti western and a whole slew of music videos. And quite a few directors, like Todd Haynes, P.T. Anderson, and Quentin Tarantino, delve into pastiche quite regularly. Now, if you're asking whether or not satirical art should be allowed in the court of public opinion, that's a topic for another video. How far should we take satire and pastiche before it becomes mere sensationalism? That's the ongoing conversation, right? Can we appropriate art that's not ours? And why the heck not? Once you comment on something, that art becomes changed, much like YouTube's own policies on review or analysis in videos. In fact, commentary videos about art is exactly what my YouTube channel is about. Speaking of my other videos, in some of my other lectures, I have spoken about this concept called meta filmmaking, where an artist can comment on his or her own art. If you're thinking that meta-narrative can cross over into parody, pastiche, or even satire, you may be onto something, but there's a key difference. I started this video with a set of oversimplified definitions, and so I'll end this video with an oversimplified definition. Meta is the commenting on of the self. Pastiche is the commenting on of another artist. Was this an interesting lecture? Let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I'll see you next time.